On Saturday night, we actually see the co-main event of Invicta FC 21 on Invicta FC 22 as Jodie Esquibel takes on Deanna Bennett. Jodie, we were supposed to see this a couple months ago. Now we finally get it. What are your thoughts on this fight finally happening?
Great. Everything happens for a reason, and here we are. So I don't really put much thought into what could have been or what should have been or what is or what isn't, and whatever. We're here now, and let's go.
What did not fighting on that night do for the preparation, essentially, for this fight? I mean, obviously, you got in good shape. You were ready to go. You didn't compete. Did you take much time off between fights, or were you just right back in there getting ready for this one?
I like how you said between fights, because I do feel like I fought.
Really?
I feel like I'm coming off a win. I did the fight week. I weighed in. I did all that, and sometimes that's half the battle. So I feel like I'm coming off a win. And I did take some time off. I took a week off, and it's fun to come off of a win without any injuries. I fought a fight, and I didn't get hurt. So I just rolled on into the camp. And I feel like it was 2 separate camps. I feel like I learned a lot in the first camp, and I feel like I evolved in the second camp. So I feel good. I took a week off, flew into Mexico, and kind of unwind, which I usually try to plan like a little getaway in between fights anyway.
Sure.
And so that was kind of a hard decision to make. It was kind of like, that was do we still take the vacation? Because
Right.
it was like the post-fight trip, and then it was like, yeah, hell yeah. Like everybody put in the time, and let's just take that time off, and let's go have some fun. And it was fun. Still was super active in Mexico. Like, our vacations aren't crazy.
Right.
They entail lots of working out and eating really good food. So I felt like it was a great break in between. That was a really long answer.
No, but I think it's a good answer because I think a lot of people don't really understand what it means to actually go through that fight week, cutting the weight,
Right.
Getting your body where it needs to be
Mm-hmm.
long before you even arrive in the city that you're competing in. It's a
Right.
long process. And, going through that emotionally, what was that like, though? Because, I mean, that had to be pretty hard to get ready for a fight and be right there and then have it just fall apart.
Yeah, it was tough. I've never had it fall apart that close. I weighed in, went and took a nap, and then woke up to 5 missed calls from Shannon, and my heart just sank, because I was already there. Like, I was already fighting. I was,
Right.
I had not even the slightest thought that I wasn't going to step into the cage on Saturday night. So it was kind of, it's just a bit of a roller coaster, and you just gotta trust the process, and
Sure.
and in my head I thought, man, a couple pounds isn't a big deal. And so I was kind of already making the deal with myself, like, hey, it's okay if you miss weight, no big deal, it's fine. And then when it was a rather larger amount than what we thought, then it was kind of like, I still had to make that deal again with myself. And luckily I have a management team, and because when you're a fighter, you're just going to fight. It doesn't matter. In the amateur days, we fought people that were 20 pounds heavier.
Right.
So yeah, why not? But at this level and at such a professional level, there's no need to do something silly.
Right.
It's just, we're at a different level now.
I want to clear this up for people because the way we've talked about this last fight, it's fallen fight a couple. It fell through a couple different ways. You were supposed to fight Deanna Bennett,
Mm-hmm.
and the person that we're talking about missing weight was not Deanna Bennett.
No,
Deanna had to
no.
pull out, and you were scheduled to face Callie Robbins, I believe.
Correct.
And then Callie failed to miss weight, and now we're talking about that decision to not compete.
And that was a miss on the catch weight, to
Right.
be clear about
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And so
it wasn't just a couple of pounds. It wasn't 117 or anything
Yeah.
like that. Like, this was a big difference here. Now, but you talked about how you were justifying it for yourself, and I know that some people talk about, oh, I don't want to have a management team. I just want to do this by myself. Some people argue that you need a manager. One argument that I think that is really in the camp of having a manager and a fight team really advise you is fighters think that they're unstoppable. They have to think that way. You're getting locked into a cage with another human weapon, you know what I mean?
Right.
And you have to fully believe in yourself. And obviously, justifying that in your mind, that's because you're supremely confident, but also you still want to compete. You want to go out
Right.
there. how did you have to basically talk yourself out of it? Because you probably would have gone in there and fought anybody just to go through that process and actually fight. Because
Right.
fighting's a reward, is it not?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I didn't the talking out of it was done very quickly by my coach, and he was actually the last person I called. Actually, I had a teammate kind of rat on me and was like, so Wink called me and was like, no, absolutely not. Because I was kind of like, hey, I think we can still do this. And we're making these deals with the devil, you know, and just scheming. What it seemed to feel like, and it shouldn't feel that way, is to justify, yes, the fight. And then I get the phone call from Winklejohn, Mike Winklejohn, which I've been with for a long time, out of Greg Jackson's gym. And he said, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, yeah, you know, just figuring some stuff out. And he said, yeah, absolutely not. And I was like, okay.
Did you feel like a parent was chastising you?
Absolutely. And then I was like, how do you even know what's going on?
Right,
and he was like, oh, blah, 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 called me. And I was like, man, you guys are a little bunch of little... Because in my mind, I almost thought about lying to my father, essentially, about the weight difference. Because, of course, he was going to say no. And of course... you know, talking to Shannon and talking to everybody else. And it's like, no, you know, we are at a different level now. Like, we're not a lower level show that does something like that. That's not professional on anybody's part.
Yep.
And we're at the position where we hold standards.
Yep.
And that's what it came down to. And that was an easier pill to swallow than like, no, I'm not going to fight. It was that, like, no, you know, we're making big waves in women's MMA, and let's just stay professional. And that was an easier standpoint for me to take.
Looking at this card, obviously it's headlined by Tanya Evinger and Yana Kunitskaya, a bantamweight fight, but there are strawweight fights, like mad on this fight, and important strawweight fights. Deanna Bennett has been away from Invicta for over a year. She hasn't been competing. Now she comes back. She's flip-flopped back and forth between flyweight and strawweight. Her last fight at 115 was against the champion, Livia Souza. You know, now with Angela Hill going to the UFC, there's this void. There's this gap here at the top of the list. And I think literally nearly any 115-pounder on this fight card could walk away putting themselves in prime position. How important is this fight for the landscape, in your mind, of the 115-pound title picture?
I think it's important. I think every fight's important, though. I think fighting is a very dangerous game in that we always look to the next fight, or not always, but we're pushed to look at the next fight. And the fight that I'm concentrating on is this Saturday night. And whatever comes from that win is going to be the fruits of my labor, you know. And if that puts me in contention, then as it should, I think. But I'm not so worried about the future.
Sure.
You know? I'm excited about going out to actually compete on Saturday, and I know that everything will fall into place after that. And I won't be surprised when it's a win, and I won't be surprised when I get the call for the title shot.
Deanna is a very difficult opponent when she fights her style. It can be a bit overwhelming for others to deal with. Sometimes she slows down fights and clinches and makes it so you can't really fight the way you want to fight. What do you think her approach is going to be? And do you think that the fact that she's been away from the cage for so long, do you think that'll play at all into her strategy? Do you think she's going to have to get used to fighting again?
I don't know. Some people say that there's ring rust and some people don't. I don't think so. I think that I'll just expect that she'll be the best that she's ever been. You know, sometimes the time off is refreshing. And that's what I'll assume. I'll assume that I'm not going to assume that she's going to have to adjust at all. Why wouldn't she want to fight her fight, you know? And why wouldn't you want to slow me down? That would be a great. That's how I'd game plan against myself, you know. And that's the deal is you don't ever fight anybody else's fight.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
No, for sure. It's about who gets to do what they want to do, and generally who does it the longest in a fight ends up the victor.
Right.
we'll see what happens coming up here on Saturday night. Jodie, I appreciate it. I think you're a strong factor here in this 115-pound title picture, and may the best athlete win on Saturday. Best of luck.
Great. Thank you.